Hello and welcome to Herein Lies the Peace of God in the Awakening Together Sanctuary. The Awakening Together Sanctuary is an assembly of equals joined in common purpose, awakening to one true self. Within an appearance of many faiths, many cultures, and many symbols, we seek to discern one truth and to rest in its embrace. The host of Herein Lies the Peace of God is Reverend Jacquelyn and Eckert, the President Minister of Awakening Together. Our co-host is your favorite anarchist preacher, Reverend Glen Ganaway, integral scholar. The Course in Miracles says this about discerning one truth. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Sing glory, glory, hallelujah. How wonderful thy holy name. Now I can see with God's own vision, and I see peace instead of pain. Yes, I see peace instead of pain. I can see peace instead of pain. Amen.
There we have it. We can begin this show now because we have the wee doggies in there.
Shauna? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I forgot to do the recording announcement.
Oh, okay.
Slap me around, babe.
No, let's not do that. Just do the announcement.
You have to ask nicer than that.
Okay, here we go. This program is being recorded for broadcast and replay on our website, on Awakening Together Radio, and on YouTube. Please be aware that by speaking or typing on the board, you give consent to have your comments become a part of the recording. Okay, Glenn, it's all yours.
Thank you. How are you, Jacquelyn? How's your week going?
Good. I got to tell you, good. I had a little upset today, and I journaled with the inner wisdom about it, and then I read our. And I'm like, oh shoot, that's exactly what I just wrote with inner wisdom.
I know. Yeah. So what I'd like to tell you this evening,
How was your week?
Yeah. Well, much similar. This is really going. I've said this before with you. It's like, I've been teaching the Course in Miracles every year, the same basic group of lessons for about 10, 15 years, and this opportunity to do the manual for teachers is very special to me, because people come to me and say, how can I approach a Course in Miracles? And I say, just read the manual for teachers and see if this is something that you really do, because it's so approachable. But I say all of that to say it has been more impactful, the Course in Miracles and its direct relevance. We laugh, but the direct relevance to what is happening right now in my life, in my psyche, my own development, my own thing is particularly unsettling or uncanny or just crazy. Crazy, odd kind of, it's crazy because it hasn't been my normal experience. This is becoming less and less crazy, or my mind and everything working out, or being able to see, and my ability to be present is not so unusual anymore. It's not like this is a special occurrence, or I don't expect aha moments anymore. I expect to be living into this, leaning into reality. So the aha moment is not this sense of stumbling, or my favorite thing is getting the rake in the face. When you step out of integrity and the world goes bonk. You can keep walking if you want to out of integrity, and just keep getting bonked, and you can get really good, at that. But that being present, that to what is happening, how the input and the information is becoming normalized, that I'm uncomfortable when it's not happening. You know, it's like I get uncomfortable when it's like, oh, you know, it's like I know that there's like the build. I'm about to there's a build up, you know, when things start to. Anyway, I'm not going to go into too deep into my esoteric practices, but you know, so we're going to tell them what kicked our butts this week, Jacquelyn. You know, about what the lesson, what the question was.
You know what? I will do that right after I read this comment from your beloved. She says, don't know if either of you have seen this, but someone did their research paper on the effect of studying A Course in Miracles on mental well-being.
No, I did not know this.
Yes, I will have to go get that. That's great. Shane Watts. That name sounds familiar. Anywho.
It's true. Well, it's true. It's true.
Yeah.
It's just, they call this mind training, and she's not kidding. She's in the very, very beginning of the course. She goes, "This is mind training," you know. So it's no accident. But
so the section we're going to read, the section of a teacher's manual from A Course in Miracles that we're going to read tonight is number 18. It's called "How is Correction Made?" And I got to tell you, I don't know who made these titles up. But I'm always like, what? You know, once I get into it, I'm like, that's not what she said she was going to tell us.
I know. It's almost like those question and answer things with Nisargadatta. Do you have this is that? When these little sections, you know, it might be 2 or 3 pages. It might be like 10, 15 pages. It might only be 2 paragraphs. You know, but is ask a question and then Nisargadatta goes, you know, right past anything that you thought you were asking, couldn't even hear the question. So I don't know, maybe it might be something, you know, along those lines.
Maybe. So it's not a long section. That'll give us plenty of time to discuss it. And I believe that I am the reader this week.
You are the reader this week.
So shall I go ahead and read it?
Let's do that.
All right, let me get a drink here. I will do that.
Okay. So if I start laughing, you know, it'll be a little bit of a delay, but you know, hopefully I'll be laughing with you.
Yeah, good. I hope so. So the question: how is correction made? Correction of a lasting nature, and only this is true correction, cannot be made until the teacher of God has ceased to confuse interpretation with fact or illusion with truth. If he argues with his pupil about a magic thought, attacks it, tries to establish its error, or demonstrate its falsity, he is but witnessing to its reality. Depression is then inevitable, for he has proved, both to his pupil and himself, that it is their task to escape from what is real. And this can only be impossible. Reality is changeless. Magic thoughts are but illusions. Otherwise, salvation would be only the same age-old impossible dream in but another form. Yet, the dream of salvation has new content. It is not the form alone in which the difference lies. God's teacher's major lesson is to learn how to react to magic thoughts wholly without anger. Yeah, that's what I stumbled on this week as well. I could talk about that in a bit, but yeah. So God's teacher's major lesson is to learn how to react to magic thoughts wholly without anger. Only in this way can they proclaim the truth about themselves. Through them, the Holy Spirit can now speak of the reality of the Son of God. Now he can remind the world of sinlessness, the one unchangeable condition of all that God created. Now he can speak the word of God to listening ears and bring Christ's vision to the eyes that see. Now is he free to teach all minds the truth of what they are, so they will gladly be returned to him. And now is guilt forgiven, overlooked completely in his sight, capital H, and in God's word. Anger but screeches. Guilt is real. Reality is blocked out as this insane belief is taken as replacement for God's word. The body's eyes now see. Its ears alone are thought to hear. Its little space and tiny breath become the measure of reality, and truth becomes diminutive and meaningless. Correction has one answer to all this and to the world that rests on this. You but mistake interpretation for the truth, and you're wrong. But a mistake is not a sin, nor has reality been taken from its throne by your mistakes. God reigns forever, and his laws alone prevail upon you and upon the world. His love remains the only thing there is. Fear is illusion, for you are like him. In order to heal, it thus becomes essential for the teacher of God to let all his own mistakes be corrected. If he senses even the faintest hint of irritation in himself as he responds to anyone, let him instantly realize that he has made an interpretation that is not true.
Right.
Then let him turn within to his eternal guide and let him judge what the response should be. And that's let him with a capital H, judge. Then let him turn within to his eternal guide and let him judge what the response should be. So is he healed, and in his healing is his pupil healed with him. The sole responsibility of God's teacher is to accept the atonement for himself. Atonement means correction or the undoing of errors. When this has been accomplished, the teacher of God becomes a miracle worker by definition. His sins have been forgiven him, and he no longer condemns himself. How can he then condemn anyone? And who is there whom his forgiveness can fail to heal? The end.
A lot of rhetorical questions, who is beyond the healing of forgiveness? It's, I seem to think that there's, some people, there's something that it's my job to get them to, I need to see them change, and, what do we learn last week? You're never angry at something that is true. Remember that? Did we
upset for the reason you think?
Yeah, that kind of idea. You're never angry at a fact. What
yes.
we talked about, that you're never like angry at a fact. So she's continuing on this because of this a little course in anger management. Yeah. It was like, oh, you're to be this encouragement to politely to be self-aware, to be onto your triggers, to be onto your trauma, to be onto your the things that trip you up, and each of us have them, and they're not good or bad, but it's like, what sets me off? What's the thing? And like, why is that? And there's a gentle reason why I get upset or why I get angry. It's because I don't want to listen to the truth. It's because I don't turn in and trust the guide. What she spends the first half of this manual saying. Well, she says the first thing she says you need to do is develop trust in the inner guide. Because you're wrong. Period. You have been wrong. Period.
Very, very clearly. And you are wrong, it says. Yeah.
So I remember first reading that. It goes, be great. Reading that in the larger text when it says, "Be grateful that you've been wrong." Because to get it right, and the world to be against you, and you can't have what you want in it, or like the "I am bad" belief, or what I call it sucks to be me. I don't want that to be true. And so. Well,
and in fact, she says. Anger but screeches. Guilt is real.
It
goes right to the heart of what you're saying. Go ahead.
And that's a very, very upset person when you're screeching. You've gone all the way to talking about it, being upset about it, being reasonable about it. You're past this. You're into upset, and giving away your power. What peace? I always remember Earl Purdy when I was coming up, listening to him. He's one of the only people online at that time. Would say, are you such a cheap piece? Is your piece so cheap that you just is like giving it away and all the opportunity? And it's like, I don't really go for like the cost analysis thing. I think that's kind of a slippery slope to use cost analysis metaphors, but it's really speaks directly to, do I want to be the angry guy? Do I want, when you meet me, yeah.
I felt the same way about Michael Singer's when he talked about in his book Untethered Soul, when he talked about the commitment to unconditional happiness. It's always, what are you going to trade your happiness for? Yeah, so it really is that cost benefit analysis. You can tell me at some point about the slippery slope.
Another time, and we'll discuss MMT and how money is an agreement and all those things, which is a whole lot of fun for me. But reality, I like this because she says, if you indulge in and believe the truth in your anger, you will not have the ability to recognize what is real. Because what is real doesn't go away. It's not going anywhere. It's my ability to manifest my own biome, as we say, I'm the commander of this, attention, to manage my own attention, to place it where it can bear fruit, and participate in what I call participate in what is real, participating in what works. That's my big metaphor for God. What works? It's really the only game in town. So if I want to play, and it's supposed to be joyful, right? She says, there's unconditional joy under it. We're supposed to be having fun. This is supposed to be a good time was had by all. On your deathbed, it should be, oh, man, this was a fantastic. This was so much fun. Right?
That's so funny. Somebody asked me this week what I would have put on my tombstone. I said, that was fun.
Okay, there you go. Absolutely. We come to these things much in approach things in much the same way. This was fun. And Emma Goldman, one of my favorite philosophers, says, if I can't dance, I don't want to be a part of your revolution.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I can't laugh, that I don't want any part of an enlightenment. You know what I mean? Because the whole thing is like, okay, step number one, you thought this up, and what if God was over you two different people? What if separation was real? And the way the Course tells it is, you forgot to laugh. You forgot that was a lark, that this was this was for the experience.
Well, isn't it bizarre though? And I was kind of giving you a quizzical look when you began talking about this, because this tome, A Course in Miracles, is just that. I mean, it's anything but jovial.
I'm kind of both of those things. No, she is not trying to make you laugh. She is not setting out to crack you up. But I crack up on a regular basis with
because it's so absurd.
The way so it's like it is funny, but I think that all of that is on purpose, is because we take spirituality so seriously, and that laugh of recognition that I want it to be, I want the these and the thous and stuff like that. I want all my Bible verses to be read in King James. In order for the God speaks in iambic pentameter. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that. And just like, if you're in New York, there's a lot of Arabic cab drivers, but none of them cuss in Arabic. They all cuss in English, because God doesn't speak English. God speaks Arabic. That's the kind of the joke. You know, of course not. But you know, it's like, you know, so how that we suddenly misidentify ourselves in the universe, you know, and get mad when our little self doesn't get stroked, or it's, you know, in the I'm doing the chapter 4 right now in the way that the course does, and she just talked about what the Holy Spirit is and what the, you know, is. We did a couple of chapters on the ego, and then we did a chapter on the Holy Spirit, on what that is. And the Holy Spirit goes in the chapter 4. She's like, I have no idea what this ego wants or feels or anything like that. I have no concern. I don't deal with anything of the ego. It's not something I'm going to be, you know, aware of. God's not, you know, God doesn't do that. It's so comforting that that there is part of me that is reliable. There is the real, what is real, I can rely on, and it's consistent, you know. And this anger, and you know, me and my, you know, I've had, you know, I've had anger issues, you know, but understanding what anger is, it is the desire for that magical will, for it to be right, that I get to be the mad king and use magic to stay asleep, you know. That's, and convince other people that this, you know, that this magic works, or the magic kingdom. I again thought of the emperor with no, you know, the emperor with no clothes. You know, I'm a powerful person. I'm a powerful person. I'm a powerful person. You know, so no, probably not. You know, just like,
Can't use those two words in the same sentence. Powerful person, just doesn't work.
I know, it's, you know, so that seeing the anger and the upset, and she says it in this, she goes, just a little bit of irritation, you know,
That's
will
right.
show you that that I believe in magic, you know. It's like, oh,
right.
just a little bit of that shows. And so I'm grateful anymore. It's like, oh, show me where I can, you know, I can let go of anger. And that's a lot. That's continually what she does. She goes, like George would say, just stop it. You know, let go, overlook, you know, your, just move, just, it's not helpful. It doesn't show you, it blocks the awareness of the presence of love. It literally pulls the screen down.
It does. And what I really appreciate when she talks about that hint of irritation is she says, if he senses even the faintest hint of irritation in himself as he responds to anyone, let him instantly realize that he's made an interpretation that's not true. And it's just, it's funny. I apparently Inner Wisdom was reading this section this week because it said that to me as well. It's like you can drop it like a hot potato at the first inkling you have of its source. So if it's anger, irritation, you know, if it's any of those types of things, you know what it is. So you can drop it. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to figure out what caused it or what you must have been thinking. I mean, you could do that stuff if you find it helpful. But the point is, drop it right then.
Yep.
Drop it right then, because you know what its source is, and its source is not Inner Wisdom. Its source is this thing that thinks it has its own magical self-will that's going to make everything wonderful. That's the I can't think of it. Bait and switch, you know.
The promise that never delivers.
Yes, exactly.
Seek and do not find.
And she says that in one of these chapters, doesn't she? I mean, in one of these paragraphs. Yet, otherwise, salvation would be only the same old impossible dream in but another form. I mean, yeah,
that's great. Just yeah.
If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, then you're going to get the same results, which from a self-will perspective is no results or bad results, sorrow. Right?
Yeah, and you know, the 12 steps say do the same thing over and over again, expecting something different is insanity. Right. That's exactly that what she just did. We keep saying, oh, it didn't work this time. It didn't work this time, you know, beating my kids, stealing from work, and cussing out all my neighbors didn't work. I'm gonna have to move again and start all over, and start all over again. I guarantee you that there's one factor that's the same in all of those scenarios, that what we use to convince other people that our lives aren't valuable. And I was astonished how she really does say, okay, there's guilt and anger. You have a choice. There's guilt and anger that are operating here in this, or there's reality, which offers you everything that you say that you want.
Well, and you notice that she doesn't, when she tells us to instantly realize that you've misinterpreted, she doesn't say, and now you need to go and decide what love would do, or, you need to act better. Or she says, no. You just turn it over. Turn within to his eternal God and let him, the eternal, internal and eternal God, right, let him judge what the response should be.
We have a man for that. It's not you. That position has been filled.
Yeah.
We have a man for that. Don't you? Don't. You
need not apply.
No, you need not apply. In unions, it's real important that the different jobs are done by different people. So you need to make sure that the forklift guy isn't doing inventory management, because you can't make the forklift guy accountable for inventory management. So the forklift guy is not going to help you do the inventory management, because if something goes wrong, he can't take any responsibility for it.
That's right. Yeah.
So it's not being mean. It's really, really hyper ethical.
Yeah. Well, and we talk about that in the work part of what we do at Awakening Together. You stay in your own lane.
It's not being mean. It's not. It's like everybody's working together, and
and that's what she's saying. She's saying here. It's not for you, and I know that's why you're talking about it. It's not for me to do. I don't need to change it. I don't need to figure out how it should be or how I could see it better or blah 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 blah. I need to give it to the forklift driver.
I know you don't have the skills. I didn't hire you to do that. You don't have the skills to do it. It's not in your job description. You aren't going to do it well. It's, if you do it badly, it doesn't just affect you, right? It affects a whole bunch of other people. I mean, it can be worked out. It doesn't make anybody good or bad, but it does mean that how do I want to move through the world? This is like really good, simple information on moving through the world. And like recognizing when the stories I tell myself to get my heart racing, the memories that come up that make me want, punch a wall or whatever like that. All of that information is so valuable, because it's where I believe in magic. It's where I believe that if my will was done, I would be happy. That's a really difficult belief to get up, that if I don't get my way, I won't be happy. I only get happy when I get my way. That's really about 4 years old.
And we were talking about that when we started, weren't we? Because
developmentally.
Because that's twice now in this thing. I got that image of Opie Taylor laying on the floor of the jail, kicking and screaming, trying to throw a temper tantrum. Yeah.
And you wear yourself out, it's not that somebody's being mean. It's like, look, I can't step in your brain, and I can't shake you, no matter how much I would love to shake. Somebody said, wake up, you're causing us and everybody else like crazy suffering out here, but that's not, I'm really not in charge of managing how the trees fall in the forest. I'm really not. And I can't, this guilt and anger are two really,
sorry.
No, that's guilt and anger is really where is this temptation? It's really this temptation of humanity to indulge in build whole lives around guilt and anger. I know people that fluctuate between 2 or 3 different emotions. Ecstasy, guilt, and anger. That's about it.
It's me.
Well, often, right? You know,
Has been.
yes, my range, the range of this is so, the ego and the way she's offering this, it goes, you're living a really small life when you do this.
Yes.
Just, you've narrowed your life down to this anger and guilt, you know, like blinders, allows us not to really feel and live into this incredible joyous experience that we could be having. Could be.
Well, and I think what I see written all over these 2 pages is just the clarity that this really is a zero-sum game. In that, what I mean is, you know, you're either in one column or the other. You either believe in separation or you witness to the truth of oneness. She says God's teacher's major lesson is to learn how to react to magic thoughts wholly without anger. And I rewrote that to say, so God's our major lesson is to learn how to respond to self-will without any anger. So we see self-will, this magic thing, in other people, and we go, oh my God, they're so selfish.
Snap out of it.
And we get all bent out of shape. And so we're jumping in the hole with them, right? We're jumping in the ego column with them.
Yep.
It does absolutely no good to do that. So anger screeches, guilt is real. Look what they're doing. Well, if there's a there that could be guilty, guess what? This here is going to be guilty as well.
It doesn't work the other way.
Yeah, and I don't know why I wrote this right here in the margin, but it's, again, what we come to see. In order to heal, it thus becomes essential for the teacher of God to let all his own mistakes be corrected. The correction of this, oh, here it is. I'm sorry. And now is guilt forgiven, overlooked completely in his sight and in God's word, right? As the opposite of that anger response. And the opposite of that anger response is knowing that we share the same interests. You and me and every other individual on this planet. And isn't that where we started in this manual for teachers? Well, what makes a teacher? Somewhere, somehow, he's recognized that he shares the interest with someone else.
No separate interest. I have no separate interest.
I have no separate interest from anybody else. That's it. Those are the 2 columns. My will, my will, my will. Or we all share the same interest. Mm-hmm. That's it. Those are your 2 choices. And if you're angry, you know which column you're in.
And how to move somebody in from believing that they will get their way if they consider, if they join this oneness, or they will have fulfillment and their questions answered by participating in the oneness, by being a cooperative component.
Well, and the only way to do that is to shine our own light, which is what this says. The only way to do this is to accept the atonement
for yourself, because it's so that's how infectious doing the right thing is. That's how infectious happiness is. That's how infectious authentic joy is. That's how infectious, like, really, really good actors and actresses are. Just, you can't take your eyes off them. You want to be with them because they're just so present. There's one of my favorite stories is Truman Capote and Marilyn Monroe were pretty good friends here in New York. They lived in the East Village for a time together. One of my favorite stories that Truman Capote tells of walking down the street with Marilyn Monroe is Truman Capote wasn't well known enough to be seen, to be recognized on the street, but Marilyn Monroe certainly was.
She certainly was.
And sure, they're walking down the East Village one day and no one's noticing them. And she says, and he goes, how come it must be like a really weird, it must be Friday the 13th or something, no one's noticing them. I just feel we're in bliss. But how can I possibly be walking down the street with Marilyn Monroe and nobody goes? He goes, oh, I haven't brought out Marilyn Monroe yet. you know, the presence of Marilyn Monroe. She goes, okay, you want Marilyn Monroe? Let's see how far we get if I bring up Marilyn Monroe, because that was not her name, right? We know that's not her name. He goes, I'll bring up Marilyn Monroe, and it wasn't five. You know, he tells us it wasn't 5 minutes before they were mobbed.
Yeah, isn't that
You
fun?
know,
That's so fun.
so that it's infectious. That
It is infectious. Yes, it's in the same way.
you know,
The same
yeah,
way.
it really is.
Do you mind if I tell you what Inner Wisdom told me when
Of
I
course.
was telling Inner Wisdom how upset I was about what that one did and what that one did and what that one did?
Oh, please do.
Yeah. So, but I'm gonna give you the. I'm not gonna name names. I'm gonna give you the last paragraph.
Okay. Bleep, 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 bleep. We'll bleep it all out.
Inner Wisdom said, the sole responsibility of the miracle worker, that's you, is to accept the atonement for herself. That is what forgiveness is. What do you think your job is in this situation? What else could it be? Remember what is your responsibility and what is not, and work within the resulting parameters. Nothing more need be done. So, yeah, it was laid out pretty clearly for me. All of the things that we just said, right? Stay in your own lane. It's not for me to fix them. It's not for me to lament that, oh my God, they're so selfish. I got one responsibility. What do I think forgiveness is? It's looking at somebody else screwing up, right?
Yeah.
And going, oh, okay, I'm going to see reality here. I'm going to see that we're all the same. We all have the same ego. We all have the same, until we don't. We all have the same selfish desires. We all have, and I'm going to go, oh, okay, yeah, well, yeah, that's for them. What's for me to deal? What's for me to deal with? My forgiveness is to know that I'm not looking at the truth, that I'm not looking with the body's eyes, as she says in here, and I'm not listening with the body's ears. That's not my job.
Mm-hmm.
My job is not to fix things. My job is not to make Awakening Together a better company to work for, right?
Mm-hmm.
My job is to accept the correction for myself. What's the correction? Nothing needs to be done here. Everything is love.
Mm-hmm.
That's the correction. And unless I move to do something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but to try and, fix them out there, I've blown the whole thing. What do I think I'm doing here? I'm done.
No, I get, for me, the real change and why this year has been so delicious for me is the idea that Holy Spirit's been working with me is, why do they need your help?
Yeah. And the answer is, they don't.
99.99% of the time, I am not being asked for any help whatsoever.
That's right.
You know, if I'm paying attention, there are things I'm needed to do. Help old ladies across the street is definitely something that I love doing, So can I do that? Why? And increase the peace, and if I can't do that, and if it makes me angry and all of this, then I have a lot of magical, I've got a lot of magical tools and things to unpack and leave right there on the sidewalk.
That's right.
The trust, my own trust and willingness in dropping it quicker and recognizing it quicker is sort of the game. It's like, how long are you how many times around the board, are you going to go on this before you're going to choose not to play anymore?
That's
Because
right.
you could play, if someone's tossing, I was thinking, I'm an ex-athlete, so I like sports metaphors. So he goes, if somebody keeps throwing the ball at you that you do not want to play with, why do you keep throwing it back? Why do you keep batting it back? If people are tossing you, I was using tennis metaphor. If people keep tossing you these things, why are you catching them and throwing them back? You can't even let them go by you.
There's a couple of things, Glenn. One is I'm like, get out of my head, because I just wrote that earlier. Accept the atonement. Refuse to play the game. Turn in your chessmen. And the other thing is, when Regina taught us, I think it was year one, General Healing year one. You talk about throwing the ball. She said what you need to see forgiveness as. she probably didn't use the word forgiveness, but that's what she was talking about. It's like people are throwing you darkness. So you catch the darkness and you throw it in the washing machine. And then you go, throw me some more, and you throw it in the washing machine, right? That's your job, is to catch it and throw it in the washing machine to be cleansed, right?
Clean it for yourself.
It's not to go over to his house and clean his dirty clothes, right? That is forgiveness.
Yeah.
That's my sole responsibility right there. And like you said earlier with Marilyn Monroe, and Shauna and I were talking about that also earlier this week. When you take off your mask, right, then your brothers will realize how tight fitting their own masks are, and they'll take their own mask off, right? But yeah, so you're the demonstration. You don't go over there and try and, it's like trying to fix something on the movie screen. That's not where it gets fixed. It gets fixed back here.
It's the trust in that process, the real trust in that organic process of like saying, even if I don't believe it, I want to prove that I'm okay, that I'm safe, that I can live without anxiety. Even if I have trouble doing it very much, what do I want to live toward? What do I want to live in a world that I believe that I cannot escape my anger? I want to live in a world that my anxiety and fear and are just the way it is. I mean, people that get down that in their lives. I've had friends that have believed that so thoroughly that they ended their lives.
Well, she says that depression is inevitable. Where does she say that? We just read
First
it.
paragraph, isn't it?
Yes, depression is inevitable. Oh, once you start arguing with your brother or telling your brother where he's wrong, or Jesus told me to tell you, once you start that, you're just reaffirming your belief in your belief in separation, your belief that the world is real, that nothing, that nothing's okay, everything needs to be. I mean, you've bought the whole hook, line, and sinker, and so no wonder you're depressed.
Because that's the nature of anger. And if you did much psychology, they will tell you that anger almost always masks depression. That's even like psychologically sound is what they understand about psychology. And anger is a higher emotion than depression. So if you're like depressed, you can get angry and move yourself out of. So there is use for like getting out of the way it is, get upset, get motivated to do the next thing. All of these things, even my anger works for my good in moving me in the direction of the present moment. The system, this understanding of reality is so ethical and so gentle that I can't help but stumble in the right direction. The only choices I have about is how quick I want to learn the lessons and in what order. That's what, she says. So I have I've dropped so much anger this past, Yolanda can attest to this. We just had a really long weekend up in Vermont, and there's been some nice shift away from, I don't know, the way we have been operating against the world, the world is less than an adversary now. I don't know how to say that. It's like realizing that I had placed the world as an adversary in some things was really what it was. The world was never my adversary, but it was like I'm still picking and finding these magic thoughts where I get mad at the world for not being something that I understand or I know how to work with or whatever. And it's like, oh, this is masking reality, which is so satisfying, right? Because this anger is not satisfying. Depression is not satisfying. Yeah. Lying to myself is not satisfying. If I'm honest, I have to be convinced, right? I have to be convinced with a lot of sex, drugs, and rock and roll that this is satisfying. You know, you know what I mean? And
You
that's
had to run all that stuff down and make sure that wasn't it
no,
first.
well, hey, yeah. I did.
Me too.
I don't know. I mean,
Me too.
I went all down
Thomas
that
says
ride.
her too.
I know. You know, God was the last one, or maybe the second to the last one on the list, you know, or any kind of understanding of what reality is. And I really see the turning point for me, this letting go of anger was realizing that I was insulting and being kind of arrogant and mean to people I thought needed my help.
Isn't that funny? Aren't we funny?
You know, it was just that
giveaway, huh?
humility of walking around and going, oh yeah, I was walking around knowing that I'm better equipped or capable or whatever I thought, you know, to be in the world or something. And it's like, just, I was just like so shocked a little. And it's like, I don't want to be treated that way,
Yeah.
you know?
It's funny you say that because I've got here, I'll show you. I've got a paragraph written. See my little paragraph there at the end of this?
Oh no.
And it's very, very old. It says something that my my ex-husband and I were sharing this. We're studying this together. I see in a couple of these things at the end. It says, Tom says. So what Tom said. Tom stresses humility and not needing to know how it works. Demanding to know how it works only creates anger and conflict. It is the personal self who wants to understand it and pontificate on it.
Yeah.
And I read that today and went, oh, I guess he was smarter than I gave him credit for.
That's self-esteem for me, to be a good helper, you know, and to step in. You know, I'm the big brother. I'm the oldest male in my family. You know, there were 2 younger siblings. You know, I had, you know, see what you can do, take it, you know, be a good, helpful, you know, good Christian Southern Baptist family, you know, to look at the ways in which you can help and be of help in the world and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and to be pulling that out at 58 is a beautiful, interesting process. You know, so how fast can you let go? You know, how fast can you see it and drop it?
Yeah,
after you picked it up.
That's it, isn't it? And I got to tell you, when I got upset earlier today, and I don't think I get angry very, very often. But boy, I was angry today, and it was just like it was like I'm trying to shake off the energy, and it was not fun. It was not fun.
It's personal when it gets like, you know, for me, seeing casual cruelty, you know, clueless, casual, you know, cruelty. It's
the same thing. It's the exact same thing, but and that's what inner wisdom was going, hey to me about. It's like, what do you think your job is here? What do you think forgiveness is? It's accepting the atonement for yourself. It's not accepting the atonement for your next door neighbor. Right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And
it's real simple.
It does, because do you think your input will solve anything in this equation?
Yeah. No, and the answer is absolutely not. because that's seeing separate interests. That's not being a teacher of God.
I know. Yolanda and I started saying not too long ago, I trust my brothers who are one with me, which is like a Course in Miracles lesson. Only we were inserting all kinds of different things for brothers.
Like those assholes?
Or bitches, or, you know, SOBs, or, you know.
Yeah, it's sweet of y'all to try to do that.
You know, it's like, man, you know.
Yeah, that's sweet. That's a good first step.
You know, be willing to be willing to be willing. I don't know.
Right, I got it.
Like backing it up or something. It's like, I just, you know, I don't know. I just had to pull out the thing that was saying, it's my job to, you know, correct, or to be the, you know, the loving, vengeful presence of the Holy Spirit, lovingly vengeful presence of the Holy Spirit. You know.
Oh, fix this.
I know. This is my sword, and I will smite you with it, and you will know your Lord and Master.
Exactly. Exactly. That's not how it works.
Well, it does in my head, especially when my inner Basil Rathbone comes out. You know.
Oh. Let's see if anybody.
Sure.
By the way, I want to say hi to Arizona. Hi, Arizona. It's nice to
Yes.
see you.
Yeah, I'd love to hear how this landed with your anger management as we deal with our anger and clues, for all of this.
What he means is anything that's stuck, whatever. He didn't mean that. I can't say it, so it must not be what he meant. Anything y'all want to talk about.
Really. Essential healing, yeah.
Shauna wants to talk about something.
Sure.
Hey, Shauna.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this section. You've already really covered most of it, but the major lesson is to learn how to react to magic thoughts wholly without anger. And for me, underneath anger is just not accepting it. That rejector mechanism that comes up all the time. It's like a default unless I'm really conscious. Just reject that, reject that, reject that. Geez.
It's shocking, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I agree. And I love how, and now guilt is forgiven, overlooked completely. So once I heal that rejector thing, I won't even see anything to reject. And that's what I want.
I know.
And then, of course, let all his own mistakes be corrected. Don't look outside to fix anything, like you said already. This personality projects outward. I bring it all back here. Look what's in here. The gift is in here. What's in here for me to be looked at? And then there wasn't too long ago when I realized there isn't anybody on earth that I'm not irritated with. I mean, to be honest.
If you make a list, you can name something about everybody.
Yeah. So and then just this, it went bink. It's just an interpretation. It's not true. Just look at it that way instead of beating myself up over it or feeling guilty or feeling I'm so bad. It's just an interpretation. It's not true. And then drop it like a hot potato, like you said. And then it says, then let him turn within to his eternal guide. Always, always for me. Just remember, drop it, turn, drop it, turn.
So easy, right? Well, it's easy. It's easily described.
Yes, simple. So thank you for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing.
And it's easier when you get to be in a community where that's kind of the standard. When you're in, you get it reflected back to you. Because a lot of times when Yolanda and I were first starting in this, we weren't in a community that did we weren't in a lot of this community for families or, work things. And it was rocky sort of at the beginning. This is the turn the other cheek story in the Bible. It's like, don't get involved. Like, really, even at that level, don't get involved. I have everything handled. You can trust that I know what's going on and I've got it all handled. Help me work with what is, and so the only thing I'll say, like, why I love overlooked is because two reasons. One is an accounting term. It means that it doesn't reach a significant level to be like to be an error. It's like a marginal thing, so it's not technically an error. So we're going to overlook all transactions in this range because just a way of seeing that this is not what I'm looking. This is not the answer. We know this group of stuff is not the answer, right? You can identify with stuff. And the other thing is, what do we do what do we do when we're an adults and there's a child? You look over their heads.
Oh.
It's just like. So if you want to engage and someone's trying to get you involved, for me, it helps like saying, oh, it's just not mature. So it's not a mature way I want to be in be in the world, you know, because if you can choose to play with a kid, you can choose to play peekaboo. One of you doesn't have object impermanence. So you keep disappearing, but you know you don't keep disappearing. So when you play disappear, you know, with somebody else, it's, you know, the powers imbalance is, you know, so it speaks directly to a power imbalance as well. To not to, if you see something and they don't, it's a power imbalance, and you can't do anything other than be kind of a jerk if you're going to use a power, overlooking something as a power. You're experiencing power imbalance. So taking advantage of a power imbalance over somebody else is not very cool.
Yeah. I want you to know I just had Mary Hartman flashbacks. Remember the guy made himself disappear? Here we go. And he thought nobody could see him.
Oh, I know. Well, maybe I love Mary Hartman. You're just like, it's not gonna get out of my head. I love Mary Hartman so much. But did I see you had something, Yolanda?
I'm just laughing. This is the greatest conversation. It is so wonderful to hear you guys just, you know, talk about anger management. It's just hilarious. And you know, I want to thank you, Jacquelyn, for sharing what you went through today. That was really powerful for me. I've just been going through a similar thing with somebody. I've told Jill before a while back that I had to make a decision that was very difficult, and I did, and it involved a creative endeavor with someone that I'd been involved with for a long time. And I expected these email exchanges that we've been having to just blow me to bits, right? Like for me just to absolutely lose my mind with anger. And I have not. I have just been like, oh, okay. Well, and I'm amazed. Something has shifted because I am not taking it personally. And, you know, I'm being accused of this and that and called all kinds of names and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, and then somebody that was confiding in said, well, what if they go to social media? And I'm just like, you know, I'm not gonna buy into any of it. And for some reason, something has shifted, and I'm not in that place anymore where I'm like, and so I see the emails and I smile and I say, you know, God bless you. This is where we are, and this is where, and I'm grateful for all that we've done together. Like all of this is true. I'm not even wrestling with it.
Yeah.
And it's really, I'm so grateful, you know.
And I really appreciate it. And it sounded like you were saying the same thing. I really appreciated that Inner Wisdom said, you got one job, do your one job, recognize what your lane is, and work within those parameters. So this is what's been handed. Okay, now what are you going to do? Right? It's not,
It's not hard. It's simple. However, one has to get past or realize, I guess what it is that I'm recognizing what magic is, what the course calls magic, what it actually is, how it shows up in my life, you know. And now I'm able to identify, oh, that's just magic. Oh, that's a belief in magic, you know. Oh, and when I get to that point about anything, then I'm usually really good. If I can see what the ego's doing and I'm not fooled by it, then I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
You know, yeah. Oh, I see. Yeah. And you know, it's these kind of discussions that really help me, and it's helped me like all year, but help me get to this place of peace, you know. So I'm really thankful, and I'm really super thankful when y'all share personal stories, because it just it means the world to me to see you working with it, you know. So
thank you for saying
I just wanted to share that. It's been a big influence. Yeah.
Awesome. Brother Glenn, I think we're out of time. Uh-oh, and your mic's off.
try to turn it off. But so the promise here that she asks, I'll leave you with this. The promise is that she says, she offers is the promise is that there is healing for the teacher and the pupil, for us and our friends and for our families. That doing this, that's how we become a miracle worker. And she reminds us that forgiveness heals. It heals.
Well, and let me just real quick. Sorry, Shauna, but real quick, let me just say, she says atonement means correction or the undoing of errors. When this has been accomplished, what you were just saying, when this has been accomplished, the teacher of God becomes a miracle worker by definition. And of course, we know elsewhere in the Course in Miracles, the miracle is defined as a shift in perception. So that's I don't have to raise the dead
Right.
or whatever, heal the lame. I just have to accept the atonement for myself. I just have to shift my perception. That's forgiveness. That heals the one mind. The one mind. Again, she ends with his sins have been forgiven him, and he no longer condemns himself. How can he then condemn anyone? And who is there whom his forgiveness can fail to heal? Because if there's only one thing going on here. There's not actually somebody across the room that's still waiting on healing. When I heal the mind, I heal the one mind. Yeah.
We do.
Thanks.
Love it.
You've been listening to Herein Lies the Peace of God with Reverend Jacquelyn Eckert and Reverend Glen Ganaway. To find out more about Jacquelyn and to donate to Awakening Together Sanctuary, go to www.awakening-together.org. To find out more about Glen and to donate to the Mighty Companions Ministries, go to www.glenganaway.com. That's GLENGANAWAY.com.
I can see peace instead of pain.
Love you, each and every one of you. Thank you for your practice.
Same here. Same here. Love you all. It's fun. See you again next week. See you on Sunday.
See you on Sunday.